Do you wish you had the focus like the super athletes or the war heroes who are able to ignore the many competing distractions at hand? You know, where your focus is locked in on the immediacy of the challenge at hand, where you're really in the present moment. Maybe you're in flow, but you're ultimately not worried about the future or the what ifs or the past, but you're really living in the present moment. Basically, do you want to know the secret of concentration? Because that's exactly what we are going to be talking about today. Now, here's the thing. Concentration is always going to be better when you feel prepared. Now, maybe you're a little bit like me and you don't always like to practice or do what you need to do to get prepared, but that's okay because we're going to talk about why preparation and practice is so important for concentration. Like perhaps you have thoughts like, I don't measure up, I'm not good enough, I suck, or whatever self-defeating thought may come about. That's going to hinder your concentration. And that's clearly a duh point perhaps, but let me explain why. So when you have those self-defeating thoughts of I'm not good enough or I'm not going to measure up, this is a huge indicator that we're going to want to spend some time practicing and preparing, because again, this is going to set us up for success to have better concentration when the time for implementation comes about. And you have to remember that focus is something that we're going to have to practice little by little. It's going to take practice to hone in to live in the moment, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So understand that if you want to have impactful concentration, practice and preparation is what it's going to come down to at that foundational level. What's the secret to successful concentration? Well, the secret to successful concentration comes down to where you put your focus, where you put your concentration, if you will. I already told you that it's going to come down to a degree to practice and preparation. You got to get prepared. You got to get clear on where you're going. You've got to practice those habits. But the next step to the equation, if you will, is where you're putting your focus. And the key is to focus on the process, not the outcome. That's right. A lot of people focus on the outcome, the result they're after, versus the process. And one thing you have to understand that I'm going to say consistently is you can only control your effort. You cannot control the outcome. I know sometimes we wish we could control the outcome, but at the end of the day, you're fairly powerless to that reality, but you can control how much effort you put into the equation. So when it comes to concentration, we want to focus on the process because you only exist right here, right now. So to a degree, the process is connected to the present moment. For instance, a lot of times people think about the outcome. Ooh, I want to win the game. Ooh, I'm going to get this goal. Ooh, I'm going to go and do this. And understand that's in the future, but you only exist in the present. And the brain cannot think about two things simultaneously. Now, if you're like, oh, I can totally multitask. Well, understand you can't multitask. Really what's happening at a neurological level is your brain is switching back and forth from one tab to another, almost like if you were on the internet browser of your choice and you had like 25 tabs open, you would go from one tab to the other tab, and while one tab is running in the background, you're really only focused on one at the very front, if that makes sense. So let's try it. I want you to think about something that is occurring right now in the present moment. Maybe focus on my voice, focus on my face, focus on what I'm saying, focus on what you're hearing. And I also want you to now focus on the future. What's a goal you want to achieve? Now try to think about them simultaneously. And what you're going to notice is your brain's going to switch it back and forth. So maybe right now, my voice, my face, what I'm saying, what you're thinking is really consuming your concentration, consuming your focus. But now I want you to shift to your dream goal. Imagine achieving it. Do you notice how you have now left my voice, what you're thinking, what you're seeing, and you've shifted to the future? So the brain cannot think about two things simultaneously. One is always going to win. Here's the issue. When you focus on the outcome, you're now projecting yourself into the future, which means you're no longer present into the present moment, which is where you exist. You end up missing opportunities to execute appropriately. You'll miss opportunities is really what I'm saying. So you really want to bring your awareness into the present moment with your effort by implementing that effort to help you hone in that concentration by focusing on your process, which in the long run is actually going to help you get to those goals quicker. A lot of people want shortcuts. At the end of the day, the fastest shortcut I can give you is teaching you how to hone in your focus into the present moment and letting go of those future worries, those future concerns, and even the past. It sounds difficult. It even may sound frustrating if you're like, ugh, I just have to let it go, like the song in Frozen. Well, yes, but there's actual things I'm going to teach you so you can implement that, and it's going to be more of a tangible action plan there. So it's easier for you to implement so you can start to let things go away. I want to help you transform your life, transform your business, because at the end of the day, it really is going to come to your mindset, and then we can bring in that strategy. But if your mindset's not right, if your concentration's not right, you might constantly run into issues or dilemmas, and over time that can wear on you. That can wear on your self-esteem, that can wear on your self-confidence. It can become extremely frustrating to the point where you want to like football spike the computer or something, and I want to help you prevent that as much as possible. Here's the thing, when you focus on your process rather than the outcome, you're better able to implement your effort. And when you can implement your effort more strategically, you're going to get better results because you're going to be able to live in the present moment, which means your awareness is naturally going to start to grow, which means opportunities might come to you a lot quicker because you're going to be able to see them versus if you're fixated on the outcome, which means you're focusing on the future, not the present moment. And ultimately, what we're kind of doing here when we're focusing on the process, when we're really working to implement our effort, the only thing we can control, we're leveraging the growth mindset. And the growth mindset says to focus on your effort, not your ability. A lot of times people want to focus on their ability. Here's the thing, the human brain is absolutely fascinating and extremely powerful. Thinking literally changes your neurology and even your DNA. So there's a lot of power in just thinking at the end of the day. And so we want to leverage that so that we can get the results that we want to achieve. And so when you focus on your effort, really what you're saying is like, I'm going to keep trying, I'm going to keep working at this intentionally and strategically while I learn the skills. Humans have to learn everything at the end of the day. So if someone else can do it, you can do it. That's at least what I believe. Now, there might be a learning curve, there might be a lack of talent, someone might naturally do it better than you. That's okay. If you really have the passion and the desire and you're willing to put in that effort, you can achieve anything. But remember, you cannot control the outcome. Even super athletes or war heroes or whoever you admire can't control the outcome. Nobody can. Yeah, they want to win the game, they want to win the mission, but that doesn't mean they will. But they can keep their focus in the present moment, helping them strategically implement that effort, minimize the opportunity for mistakes because their mindset's going to be so focused on right here, right now, which is where they exist, which is the place where the opportunity really is for them to execute appropriately and effectively to hopefully achieve the outcome that they want. But sometimes you're going to have to adapt. And when we're fixated on the outcome, sometimes we're setting expectations, and when those expectations aren't fulfilled, we're getting like frustrated and angry. And then that anger is going to get us out of our prefrontal cortex, and we're going to miss opportunities to execute appropriately with the effort we have while focusing on the process. I hope that makes sense. By the way, if you struggle to focus on your effort because you're too busy focusing on the outcome, then it's really important to have these 3 types of goals: results, performance, and process goals. And if you are not sure what those goals are, I'm going to encourage you to watch this video. By the way, have you taken my free quiz, What Thinking Trap is Limiting Your Performance? It scores you on 17 of the most common thinking traps. And thinking traps are just automatic negative ways of thinking that hinder our performance. For instance, if you struggle to focus on the process, really implementing your effort because you're too distracted by catastrophizing or worrisome thoughts, then it might be really beneficial for you to take this free quiz. It takes you less than 5 minutes, and it's going to tell you where you struggle the most with your negative thinking. This is so important because 95% of our thoughts are the same every single day. So this quiz allows you to have awesome data to get ahead of your thinking patterns so you can start to shift them intentionally and consciously by leveraging your effort and keeping your focus on the process, which is going to help you stay in the present moment. Go take that quiz right now. The link is in the bio. Here's the other thing that happens when you're able to focus on the process and let go of the outcome. It's easier to get in the zone. It's easier to get in flow, if you will. And when you're in the zone or in flow, you're able to focus in the present moment with all of your being. Now, if you have been in flow before or been in the zone before, then maybe you're like me and you're like, yes, I love that feeling. It feels great. You know, it's where you lose track of time and you're really focused on what you're doing and it feels awesome, right? And that's the key. So the more we can implement our effort by focusing on the process, the more likely we are to get in the zone, especially if it's things we enjoy doing. Here's the really cool thing of when you're in the zone, your attention to really important details actually becomes effortless. Now, focus is something that kind of ebbs and flows. We always want to focus that's like straight line, but that's not how it works. So understand that sometimes your focus might be like this. And the key on the days when it's just not getting traction the way you would prefer is to just continue practicing it. It's an opportunity for you to continue honing in your ability ability to implement your effort while focusing on the process and keeping your mind focused in the present moment. All of this is going to be a skill to learn, especially if you're used to focusing on the past or the future. So here's an opportunity for you to start learning how to practice living in the present moment, focusing on the process, and implementing your effort, the only thing you can control. We could actually say there's two types of focus: narrow focus and broad focus. An example of narrow focus would be a batter standing on home plate ready to hit the ball, and he is narrowing down on the pitcher to the point where when the ball is thrown, he's able to see the seam of the ball spinning towards him. That would be a perfect example of narrow focus. However, broad focus is going to be that. It's going to be broader. So think of a quarterback seeing the entire field to be strategic on the play he needs to implement or the opportunities he sees to either run the ball or pass the ball. So depending on what type of focus you need, you're going to shift between those two things. But here's the thing. You can't shift between narrow and broad focus if you're worried about the outcome, because that's going to consume you. And you have to understand that humans are going to work to create their most dominant thought. So if you're constantly thinking about the future or the past, it's going to be really hard for you to find those opportunities of where you need to focus on that narrow focus or really implement that broad focus. So again, we want to continue practicing these skills because it's going to help us have better preparation. It's going to help us have better concentration in the long run too, so that we can get more things done at a faster rate, because who doesn't want more time? Okay, if you're like me and you love data and you want to tangibly understand the why and the how so you can implement better, then listen up, because I'm going to read to you 6 things that create effective performance. So this is what effective performance was facilitated by. Number 1 is expectations of success. You have to have an expectation of success. You have to be like, yes, I'm going to win. You have to believe in your effort more than your ability. You have to believe in yourself. And here's the thing. If you don't have any track record of I'm awesome and I can do this, start to focus on what you love about yourself right now and start to leverage things that you've been good at, no matter how big or how small. Right now, we just want to draw a line in the sand and really learn how to develop that winning mindset, because expecting to fail is just as likely as expecting to win, right? They both haven't happened yet, but you're just used to thinking of one way when we need to start to change your neurology so we can start to think a different way, if that makes sense. Number 2 is separating big goals from little goals. And if you want to learn more about goals, make sure you watch this video. Getting immersed in the challenge, you've got to find a love and a passion in the challenge. If the challenge doesn't motivate you, it's going to be really hard to want to practice, let alone get prepared. And then it's going to make it more difficult to really have that concentration that we're talking about here. So make sure you really love it. And I'm just going to tell you one key thing. Learn how to make anything interesting. If you can learn how to make anything interesting, it's amazing how much better your life gets, how much better conversations get, and how much more people start to like you, because here's the thing, people love to talk about themselves. So if you're in a conversation with someone who's just talking up a storm, if you can challenge yourself to find what they're saying interesting, it's actually going to be easier to listen to them. You're going to get a better connection. They're going to like you a little bit more. But also, just doing that one little thing is going to help you start to be more immersed in challenges, especially when it's a challenge you don't find interesting. Because sometimes, especially if you're an employee or an entrepreneur or a solo entrepreneur, you're going to have to do things you don't necessarily want to do. And we want to collapse the time to just get it done versus procrastinating. You also want to drive for perfecting the process versus the results. A lot of people want to perfect the results. It's a waste of your time. You can't fully control the results, but you can fully control your effort. So maybe you're someone who, when you fall off the wagon, when you fall off the horse, you take 3 days to get back up on it. Well, how do we close that to 2 days, to 1 day, to half an hour? Or maybe you're someone who vents and you want to vent less. Or maybe you're someone who really wants to create systems in your business, but you're getting frustrated because they're not perfected. Well, how can you focus on your effort? How can you focus on creating an effort system, if you will, on saying, okay, I'm just going to sit here and try this. So really focus on perfecting your effort and not the results, because if you can perfect your effort, man, you will start to become so self-confident. Your esteem will go up, your self-worth will go up, and everything will start to improve because you will trust yourself. So remember, when you don't don't trust yourself. You're going to have low self-esteem. So we want to start to breach that damage or that disconnect between you and yourself so that you really start to trust yourself. And by the way, go ahead and hit subscribe right now so you stay up to date of my latest videos. You're also going to want to develop skills at successive levels, meaning you're going to constantly want to work on your skill set. And again, by leveraging your effort, it's going to be easier to implement that, right? Because if you say, I want to be great at coding, or I want to be great at editing, or I want to have a successful business, then you're going to develop the psyche, the mentality, the mindset that says, I'm going to keep focusing on my effort until I get there, because it's going to be through pivoting and recalibrating my effort that I'll get there versus the strategy, right? Some things take time and business is trial and error, but here's the thing, if you can hone in that effort, if you learn how to focus on the process, really work to hone in that concentration, so much can happen so quickly. You also want to excel within one's limits. Understand what you're good at, understand what you need to delegate, and sometimes you can't delegate right off Jump Street. That's okay. Believe in time you will, and see this as an opportunity of growth and as a challenge versus as a problem. So how you see things does really matter and is going to translate on how much or how little you implement your effort. So see things as a challenge, especially if you want to grow and be your best self. And then the last thing you want to do is enjoying the success of the moment. You know, it's interesting. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people really don't like to relish in their success. And by the way, as a quick side note, it's very normal to have a slight moment of depression after reaching a big goal, but nonetheless, you want to enjoy the moment. You want to feel proud about yourself. Go get a reward. I like to do star charts sometimes, or get myself a cup of coffee or a bigger item, or buy someone else a cup of coffee. So how can you relish in the moment and enjoy it and then get back to work? It's going to be really important to know and practice. Yes, everything comes down to practice if you haven't learned yet. I want to read 4 things for you to remember to help you improve your concentration even more. Number 1, you are not what you do. You're not what you do. Right now, I'm going to invite you to detach what you do and how well you do it to your self-worth and self-esteem. You are worthy. Your worth is a constant. You are 100% worthy regardless of what you do or what you don't do. And I really want you to start to see this as truth, because a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of high performers struggle with something's known as performance love or conditional love, meaning you have to perform well or meet certain conditions in order to get love. So love is earned versus love is not earned. Love is unconditional, and really that's how it needs to be. Not everyone knows how to practice that. So it's going to be really important to detach what you do from your self-worth. And this is something that some of the most amazing super athletes and successful people that we look up to have successfully done. So start to detach that, right? So if you are not achieving certain stuff and it's making you feel about yourself, then that is a huge indicator that there's some self-improvement work you can do with your self-worth, with your self-esteem, so that you can actually perform better. And you know what's really cool about this? When you are able to detach your self-worth from what you do, your self-confidence will actually start to grow at a faster rate. So this is really a win-win. And I know you can do it because, hey, look, if I've done it, trust me, you can do it. Trust me. And I say that as encouraging and inspiring you. You also want to play for your integrity, not compensation. Look, if your biggest goal in life is to make a lot of money, I'm just going to be blunt. That's a really vain goal. Vain, super vain. Get a new goal. Because if you research legacy companies that have been around since 1950 or longer, their main initiative was not to make a lot of money. Their main initiative was on creating some sort of like change in the environment or a mission that really drove them. And then they focused on people, then they focused on their product, and then they focused on the bottom line. When you just focus on money, you actually start to miss a lot of important equations in a company or in a brand that can really help skyrocket your success. Number 3, you want to focus on the present moment with all of your being. In fact, this is one you've got to practice right now. So when you start to go into the future, maybe you catastrophize, meaning you project what you don't want to see in the future. This is also an indication that we might got some anxiety that we need to deal with. Or if you worry a lot and you just are really fixated on what you don't want to see, this is kind of an indicator we're serving fear more than faith, and fear and faith are equal in substance because neither one of them happened yet. And again, self-fulfilling prophecies are real because we work to create our most dominant thoughts. So really start to practice believing and seeing what you want to have happen versus what you don't want to have happen. So when you are trying to practice living in the present moment, this is what I do, and I want to share it with you really quickly. Sometimes my mind wanders too. And what I'll do is like kind of get a fishing hook and I go throw it over there and I reel in my thoughts like, oop, We're gonna focus right here. And I'll label something. So right now I have my computer in front of me and I'll go, okay, look at the keyboard, look at the Post-it notes on the computer. I'll really articulate something that's visual and typically really colorful. I go with the visual stimulation there. You can do auditory, you can do touch, you can do what you're smelling, use any of your senses and really bring in the present moment, get clear on what you need to do in that present moment. And every time your mind goes that way, just kind of allow that thought to pass like a gray cloud and then bring your attention back to that present moment. And it's gonna be through practice that this gets better. So you might have to do this every nanosecond at first. Don't get frustrated. This is just the way the cookie crumbles. And you're gonna see in time that it's gonna be 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 hours, 5 days is gonna get better each time. It's gonna be awesome, and I totally believe in you. The last thing you wanna do is focus on the game and not the expectations of others. And when I say game, I mean your business, your goals, whatever you're trying to accomplish. A lot of times people will get performance anxiety because they're so worried about what other people think. Here's the thing, you can't please anyone. You can't please everyone. You can only work to please yourself and do what's right. Now, I hesitate to say that because my brother's a psychopath and he's insane. However, what I hope you're hearing is you're gonna focus on being the best person you can be by giving people love, upholding your integrity, and being just an impactful, loving human, because we need more and more, especially as this world kind of falls apart, it looks like, to a degree. So focus on playing your best game. And do you notice when you have to focus on the game, you're focusing back on the process, you're focusing back on your effort, and you're letting go of what other people think. So if you struggle with people's expectations and meeting them, and if you're pleasing people, then understand your focus is on them, not on yourself and how you're going to perform. That's gonna be a really important mind shift. So figure out what triggers you to go that direction, find the root problem, pull it so that you can really implement your effort at a 150% rate versus 65 or 35, because the rest of your attention is going to what will they think. You know what? People will think weird things and you have no control over it. But you have control over how you show up, over what you say, over how you behave, and if you're able to uphold your integrity or not, and spreading that love. And I believe in you, and I know you can do this. So if you really like this video, let me know what your biggest takeaway is in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe and like this video, and thank you so much. I hope you feel better about the secret of concentration. And just as a quick recap, we said that practice and preparation are going to be needed. You're going to have to learn how to focus on the process by implementing your effort and letting go of the outcome, really clarifying your goals, separating your self-worth from how well you do, and constantly being willing to recalibrate and learn and grow through implementing that effort. My name is Liz, I'm rooting for you, and I can't wait to see you back here.